Hello and welcome to MUFC MPB YouTube. I'm your host Ash Meppers. Today we'll be talking about everything Manchester United, all the latest goings on, the Glazer, ownership, the takeover, potential new incomings with the centre backs. We've got Sancho's latest, internationals, everything, all also involved around the squad and everything that's going on, including Manchester United. So if you're new to the stream, make sure you're dropping a like, you're hitting that subscribe button, get your opinions known. Let us hear what you've got to say on Manchester United, what your thoughts are, on anything that you've been thinking about lately about Manchester United, whether it be the ownership, whether it be signings, whether a player needs to be brought into the team, whether it needs to be players taken out of the team, anything that you're potentially interested in. So you boys let me know. First and foremost, let me say welcome into the stream to a few of the regulars and how you boys going today. Hello TJ, Rajat, Tony Bravo, Scatty and Ronnie Dodge. Good evening. Hope you're all doing well this fine, beautiful evening. Now let's get into some of the Manchester United football news. Manchester United are on a centre-back hunt in Lisbon to sign Sporting's Gonçalo Inacio and Benfica's Antonio Silva. United are convinced that both would be perfect. I like to read that both would be perfect. Bruno Fernandes and Diogo Dalot could have a word with the duo on national duty. I believe Portugal play Slovakia on Friday, so that's when they're already there in camp now, so they can talk about it and speak about it right now. So, but in regards to Inacio and Antonio Silva, we need to sign both really. When you consider that Inacio is 22 years old, he's a left-sided. If you're unaware of the player himself, he's a left-sided, left-footed centre-back who plays in a back three. Now, there is potential worry and kind of intrigue there as to how he could play in a back four. That's interesting in itself, because when you consider that he's only played as a back three for Sporting, he's not accustomed to it. And when you look at him defensively 1v1, he is a little bit suspect. So He's not someone that I believe would be taking over Lisandro Martinez's spot at that left back spot, that left centre back spot, but potentially as a backup to Lisandro Martinez, you potentially replace Harry Maguire, and then build himself up at Manchester United as a potential starter in the future. But as it stands right now, 22 years old, I don't believe he would be good enough to go straight into the Manchester United team. Like I said, you watch him 1v1, he had a fantastic game against Arsenal last season, you would have seen in the Europa League at the Emirates and also at the Lisbon Stadium. A very good player. Now, in regards to Antonio Silva, a right-footed, right-sided centre-back. Now, that's a player that I desperately believe we need. We need a Todibo. We need an Antonio Silva to cover for Varane, because Lindelof and Maguire playing there haven't been good enough, and Varane, unfortunately, with the amount of injuries that's been occurring for Varane over the last 6, 9, 12, 18 months at Manchester United, you've seen that we've not really been able to rely upon him, and we need centre backs to rely on. That's one of those things that as a centre back is a must, is your fitness. You saw with Arsenal last season, the moment they lost Saliba for a couple of games, the form collapsed. It only takes one key important player to be taken out of a team, and for the team to almost fall apart. You've seen that almost with Manchester City, with losing Rodri. We talk about our injuries and the potential issues that we've got at Manchester United for injuries and all across the board, and you can understand why we've maybe not been performing as well as we could have been, and we probably should have been. But Varane is one of those players that I don't know what you boys feel about Raphael Varane, but me personally, I love him, absolutely love him as a player, love him as a man. I'm just not sure I want to rely upon him. Do you know what I mean? I think we've got to really be looking to the Saudis in the summer and saying, you know what, give us a 40 million and you can have him. Let's kind of move along from him. And that's harsh to say, I understand, but I think Varane, as great as he is and as good as he is, like I was just saying about the reliability issues, he's got reliability issues, and we need to bring someone a little bit fresher. You look at Antonio Silva's injury record, decent. He's what, 19 years old, and he already He played his part in last season's league title win for Benfica, played over 30 games. They conceded something like 20 goals across the whole season. You know, he's a fantastic centre-back. And if I had to choose between the pair, I'd choose Antonio Silva. I don't know who you'd choose. Let us know in the chat. Let us know in the comment section below if you're watching live, you're watching on demand. Make sure also you're hitting that subscribe button, you're hitting that like button. Now let me hear your thoughts. Ronnie says, a fan spoke to Tyrell Malacia the other day, and apparently he's back in 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah, I mean, he's had a big knee injury, and you know, it takes a long time to recover from those, so we'll see when he'll be back. But also, he's going to need a lot of time to get up to kind of match fitness, so, you know, he might be back 2 to 3 weeks fitness-wise, but then, you know, you've got to talk about, you know, getting him actually fit back into the team. So, Sky says some class centre-backs have come from Portugal. Ruben Diaz, David Luiz being 2. Yeah, we've had some decent centre-backs over the years. You know, Ricardo Carvalho, you know, one of the greatest centre-backs of the last 10, 15 years. I can't think of too many off the top. Ricardo Carvalho came off straight off the top of my head. Did Luisao from Benfica? I know he was Brazilian, but Luisao came through Benfica, played fantastically well. Rajat says both will be great, so gonna be happy with that. How's it going, Mr. Stats? I agree, yeah. He can't play with Martinez, it means. What are you saying there, Rajat? That he can't play with Martinez? Inacio, no, I don't believe Inacio will play with Martinez. He'll either play in Martinez's spot or Martinez will play there. That's if we go and get Inacio. Now, personally, having looked at Inacio quite a bit over the last, you know, 24 months, you know, has been linked with him. And you know, I pay for all the subscriptions. I've got Premier Sports, which is now Via Sports. I watch a lot of the Portuguese, the Spanish, the French, the German, the Italian leagues. You know, it's basically all I do is generally watch football. You know, I don't watch films and I don't watch TV these days. You know, football's my life. I love it. And when I watch Inacio, I see him struggle one-on-one. Go on the ball, left-footed, bringing the ball forward, fantastic. A little bit risky bringing the ball forward, I can't lie. Sometimes he tries to overdo it a little bit, but he's great at bringing the ball forward. His passing range in the mid-range is fantastic. You know, he takes a little bit, his risky passes into the final third are a little bit risky and probably need a little bit sharpening. But what pains me and what kind of worries me is his 1v1 capabilities. 1v1 against a tricky winger, against a wide player, against a forward, someone like let's say a Saka or a Jeremy Doku, you know, because he's going to be playing on that kind of side. 1v1, I don't think he's much better than Maguire. If anything, I'd probably lean to Maguire being a better 1v1 defender. It's just the rest of Inacio's play is better. And he's also got the time to develop and become a better player, okay? But he does look a little bit rigid. And, you know, when you see Maguire kind of step up and front up a forward and an attacking player, you see him sometimes, you know, look a little bit too rigid. Inacio, you watch him, it's a similar thing. That cannot be said about Antonio Silva. Antonio Silva, you know, he's a Rolls Royce. He's fantastic. 19 years old. You know, he's tackling capabilities. Going back to Inacio for just 1 second, I believe he's in the 44th percentile in regards to tackling and interceptions in the top 5, top 6 leagues in Europe. So his stats aren't even there with that. In fact, I've got some stats here for you. Let me show you. I posted these earlier today. You look at his tackles at the bottom there. His tackles, interceptions, and blocks. His tackles in the 62 percentile, which isn't too bad, but where really he excels and where really he's dominant is on the ball. And when Ten Hag's wanting to create a system where he's wanting to control the play, dictate the ball and dictate possession, then it allows the centre-backs, the full-backs, the goalkeeper even, and the centre midfielders to feel relaxed, to feel calm, knowing that when he's bringing the ball out or when he's on the ball, that he's going to make the right pass, he's going to make the right decision, and he's going to help us control possession. So with that, Sporting right now are top of the league in Liga Portugal. So, you know, he has got the capabilities to be a top draw centre-back. But again, I just worry a little bit, just a little bit with the with his defending capabilities. Gonçalo Inacio is one to watch for Manchester United in the January transfer window. They've monitored. We'll get there at the end, boys. We've monitored him for a while. That's according to Ben Jacobs. If you haven't seen, we had a video out yesterday with Ben Jacobs and Il Candola. A fantastic interview, very insightful, some great questions in there, some insightful answers. So make sure you go and watch that as well, boys. And if you've not already, again, make sure to like and subscribe. Let's see what you boys have got to say. Mash says, we're going to ask you, who would you choose? Silva looks mega. Personally, if you was going to ask me to choose over... If you'd ask me to choose a centre-back... Now, put it this way. First and foremost, we need to clear something up. Gonçalo Inacio is a left-sided centre-back. He's a left-sided, left-footed centre-back. Antonio Silva is a right-footed, right-sided centre-back. Different players, different positions. They shouldn't be considered the same guy. If we're buying that guy for the left-sided position, then we shouldn't be buying Antonio Silva. If we're buying a player for the right-sided position, we shouldn't be buying Gonçalo Inacio. So maybe we could be buying both. Who knows? But you know those Portuguese clubs, they like to get their pennies worth. You know, they like to get their money, their big fees. So we'll see about that. But we have been monitoring for a while, and you know, again, like I said, want to look out for in the future. And if he's going to be a replacement for Harry Maguire, great. I don't see him starting against Lisandro Martinez though. Lisandro Martinez clearly is the better player. If you've watched either of the players, you'll come to that conclusion, you know, instantly. You know, he's a much better player. Now, in regards to Harry Maguire, Justin was West Ham will not make another move for Harry Maguire in January. They can't afford him. Now, we apparently was asking for 30 million in the January transfer window, which also meant we'd have to pay out Harry Maguire 12 million. So essentially, we'd be getting 18 million from West Ham and taking 12 of that and giving it to Harry to cancel out his contract. Now, I would have done that deal. I definitely would have done that deal and looked to have moved to Todibo or potentially, you know, Tapsoba, even INACIO. Unfortunately, that deal wasn't done, and Harry stayed with us. He's actually performed well. He's performed pretty well, and you know, I'm happy for him. I want to see him succeed. I want to see him do well. You know, he's a Manchester United player. He wears that Manchester United badge. You know, he wears it with pride. You know, when it comes to attitude and willingness on the football field and in the dressing room, you see, you know, he's got all the attributes. Unfortunately, he's just not got the quality to be a Manchester United player, that wants to go and challenge for things, to go win Premier League titles, to go win Champions Leagues. He's not that guy, so spending 80 million on him was a big mistake. You know, we've come to see that now. It's obvious, and keeping him on such a big wage when we could potentially cash in and look to move on and move elsewhere. How old's Harry Maguire now? 30, 31 almost, I believe. Yeah, I think time's up for Harry, really. I mean, I wish him all the best, and I hope him well. But really, we should be looking for another club for him, and maybe even if we have to take a little bit less just to get him off the wages and on the wage bill, then that's understandable. If not, it wouldn't be the worst case scenario, keeping him around. If he's a fourth choice centre back, you know, third, fourth, fifth choice centre back, I don't think it would be the biggest worry, the biggest issue. I think we'd all be happy with that. I mean, what do you think? What do you believe? Again, let us know in the chat. Let us know your thoughts. How you feel about Harry Maguire staying in and around the Old Trafford dressing room. Starting, I think we could all agree, we don't want him starting. You know, he's too error prone, unfortunately. Our centre-back pairing should be, as it has been, you know, for the past 2 seasons, well, this season and the past season. We want to see Lisandro Martinez and Varane. You know, we want to see them in full fitness, full form. You could point to maybe Lisandro Martinez and said, okay, he's had a poor season this season, he's played bad. But now looking back and now knowing what we know about his metatarsal on his right foot and the fact that he was playing through injury and he was potentially getting injections and painkillers, you know, to kind of play with that injured metatarsal, and now he's undergone surgery, then you can kind of understand that he's been injured and he was not at a full 100%. So, okay, you know, there is better to come from Lisandro Martinez, and I'm excited, and we're all excited to see the Butcher back. We won't probably see him back now till January, February, but we're all willing and we're all hopeful and excited to see him back as soon as possible. So we'll see how that goes. Ronnie Dodge said, "Did you see the cheeky video of Højlund scoring a backhill goal in Denmark training?" I didn't, Ronnie Dodge. I'm not seeing that. How about the other options like Tapsoba? I like Tapsoba, do fantastic things for Bayer Leverkusen. Personally, I like Todibo. Todibo, however you pronounce it, I believe it's Todibo. But I can't, for some reason, I just can't get used to saying Todibo. I keep elongating it to Todibo. But Todibo, you know, his pedigree's there. He's great. He's great on the ball. He's great aerially. His anticipation is outstanding. You know, his tackling ability, his physical presence. He's got everything, Todibo. I think if we don't sign him, he's going to go on to sign for a big club, you know, a title-winning, Champions League-winning, a top team. We're going to come and look back and regret it. We're going to look back and think we had opportunities there. There was the potential in the summer of 2023 to go and sign Todibo, but we kind of dilly-dallied and messed about and didn't get that signing over the line, unfortunately. I think we've got to do everything in our capabilities to go and sign him in the summer, and potentially maybe even in January. I don't know how much business is going to be done in January by the Glazers. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but it's going to be interesting for sure where we go and what moves we make in the transfer market in January. Harry's also been saying that my opportunity to go to West Ham wasn't agreed really between both clubs. That's because of the fee. We were now aware of that. It wasn't just my chance to say yes and I'm going. It wasn't agreed. So that was never agreed at any point. You know, apparently the 30 million was too much for West Ham to kind of cough up, and Manchester United were and I'd imagine it was Richard Murtaugh dealing with that transfer. He wanted the 30 million. Now, to me personally, I'm looking at that, I'm thinking, we let Chris Smalling go, 5 years ago for 3 million to Roma. Chris Smalling's the better player. And we let him go for 3 million to Roma. Now, okay, you can argue and say, well, Harry Maguire cost us more, he's more in our books. But you look at it from purely a talent perspective, then letting Chris Smalling go for 3 million was ridiculous and indicative of all our mistakes in the transfer market over the past few years. Scotty says, remember when scouting centre-backs was all about heading and clearing the ball ability? I do, yeah. I mean, nowadays, sometimes you even look at players like INACIO and you go, well, his defending doesn't matter too much. Madness. How can you say his defending doesn't matter too much? Because that's his weak point. As a centre-back, Inacio's weak point is his defending. But on the ball, driving the ball forward, passing the ball, getting out of tight situations, his composure on the ball, those are all the positives for Inacio. So, and that's potentially why you want a ball-playing centre-back. A little bit similar to Nathan Aki in that regard, having used to be playing on the left-hand side as a left-sided centre-back. Rajat says Inacio is versatile. He can play left back as well. Indeed, I mean, of course, if you're playing a back three, and that's what also worries me about Inacio. Inacio, when you look at him, how much experience has he got playing in a back two? Yeah, he can play in a back three, and we've seen how good Harry Maguire looks in a back three. In a back three, Harry Maguire looks outstanding and potentially, worth that 80 million that we bought him for. But in a back two, it's a whole different ball game. It's a different situation. Do you know what I mean? So, Inacio, I've yet to see. We will see. Potentially, we've got the opportunity to see Inacio and Antonio Silva, hopefully on Friday when Portugal play Slovakia. So keep your eyes out for that one. And hopefully we might do a little bit of scouting there, and I'll bring you the information and kind of my report on Saturday to see how they went and if they played and if they didn't play. So Ronnie says, I think right centre back is more important. Depends on Leach's recovery. This time we just can't rush him back. He's let his foot heal. I agree. I agree. I believe that the right centre back is where it's needed, most important for us. You see with the lack of reliability of Varane, as I've spoke about a little bit earlier, we need that right-sided centre back, and Todibo, Antonio Silva, those are the guys who we really should be looking at. Can I offer a name as well that's not been spoken about and not spoke about anywhere near enough? Mark Gahey at Crystal Palace. What a baller. Big fan. We've seen him at Old Trafford. You could even say the Dane next to him, Anderson. Those are two players who we should be exploring a price for those potentially, and what those could be worth. But Mark Gahey, I'm a big fan. He's former Chelsea. He's getting his England call-ups. I like the look of it. I like the look of him. He's good on the ball. He's strong. He's able to bring the ball out. He's a great passer of the ball. He's got everything, Mark Gahey. I'm a big fan. And honestly, if we don't go on to sign him, then you'll see him at Man City. You'll see him at Liverpool, at Chelsea. You'll see him at a top club. He's one to look out for in the future, and we should really be looking at him right now. Again, I don't understand why we're not. And if we're not looking to go forward with Aaron Wan-Bissaka, as apparently we've not in past windows, then maybe introduce some kind of swap deal there. But I would like to see. I would like to see Aaron Wan-Bissaka stay at Manchester United. So there is that. Crystal Palace will pull our pants down for a price. That's hard to disagree with. I agree with you there, Scotty. Mash says, I respect him for having the mentality of fighting. Could be the paycheck, though. You're talking about Maguire. I agree. Bath Time says, hello, Ash, who looks very handsome tonight. Maybe you're born with it. Maybe it's the Maybelline. I don't even know what to say about that, Bath Time. Appreciate it, mate. At least someone's telling me, do you know what I mean? But thank you very much. Listen, I believe it was World Mental Health Awareness Day yesterday. So that means a lot, man. Thank you very much. But I will say, boys, you know, you should be talking to your brothers, to your brethren, to your mates, to your family and all that. And if you're not a talker, make sure you're going out, you're walking, you know, you're going to the gym, you know, you're cooking for yourself, you're looking after yourself. So there's all different ways to kind of work on our mental health and stuff. So always keep on top of that, boys. Do you know what I mean? Especially in these past couple of weeks and months being a Manchester United fan. Do you know what I mean? I've needed to go out for some long walks. It's been painful. Rajat says, Nkape from Leverkusen looks good, much potential. The fullback. Man United need to do better than Crystal Palace level. You say that, but you look at some players that come through, you know, look at Manchester United historically, you know, look at Dennis Irwin from Oldham, look at Cantona from Leeds. Okay, you could say it's a title winning Leeds. I can't really argue with that. Look at Antonio Valencia from Ecuador, look at Cristiano Ronaldo from Sporting, look at Wayne Rooney from Everton. You know, our history, our culture, our methods are set in buying those unearthed gems. It's not buying the superstars, buying the ready-made players. It's buying those nearly made players, those that look with loads of potential that we can polish into a diamond for Manchester United. And that's really the way we should be going forward and going into the future. I don't want to see ready-made players like we've seen previously. So we'll see about that. Speaking about, good evening, Big Ron. How's it going this evening? I hope you're having a fantastic Wednesday evening. We've got a bit of Qatar news. The Qatari takeover of Manchester United is very close, according to Qatari and Alcast TV Sports. Boys, it's looking like this deal could be done soon, and it's looking like potentially it could be the Qataris to win this deal. Now, having said that, the Glazers don't care about the criticism or the protests. The only time they care is when it hits them in the pocket, according to Rob Dawson at ESPN. Now, you'll have fans all around the world saying, well, you shouldn't go to the stadium, you should sit out. That's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. Manchester United fans, we're loyal, we're dedicated. I go to every game. Do you know what I mean? I even buy the merchandise. I get slagged off by internationals all the time about buying Manchester United kits and Manchester United merchandise. But the way I see it, I'm not going to spite the son just to hurt the father, so to speak. You know, I don't want to hurt Manchester United. If we strip Manchester United itself as a club, and then that means we're struggling, then that's not great. If we give money and then the Glazers spend money on Manchester United, it is what it is. We need to be working in different ways. We need to be taking different manoeuvres. We need to be stopping games. We need to be continuing the sit-in protests. Now, the sit-in protests, those go fantastic, because essentially what that does is that causes the Glazers to have to pay overtime for all the staff. They have to keep the lights on. They have to pay extra for the policing. They have to pay all. So it's those kind of protests. Those are the way forward. And I'd like to see more sit-ins. I was there at the first sit-in. I can't remember who it was against. Was it Nottingham? I believe it might have been Nottingham Forest. I was there at the sit-in, you know, for the full hour. You know, lots of fans dotted in and around the stadium. At least, you know, a couple of thousand at least. That's what we need to be doing more of. Hopefully we won't need to be doing that for much longer, because it's looking like the Glazers could be on the way out. Now, if you've not seen, we did a recent interview with Ben Jacobs, and he had his opinion and his say, and he said, my personal view is that we will get the clarity on the Manchester United takeover before the end of the year. By late November, we will know more about the direction of travel. Now, this is a lot of people in and around the Glazers, Sheikh Jazim, Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Now, Sir Jim Ratcliffe apparently talked about a 25% buyout. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. It's illegal first and foremost. It can't be done with the change of shares from A value to B value shares, from which the Glazers own. So potentially the way that would work, that buyout from Sir Jim Ratcliffe, he'd have to buy the majority of shares from the New York Stock Exchange, which would be around about 12.5%, and then give 12.5% to the Glazers or a specific Glazer, and then them convert them A shares to B shares. So that's just not possible. It's not happening. That's a load of nonsense. You know, anyone with any kind of financial acumen, business acumen, they read that story and just kind of scoffed it, because it was a load of nonsense. So maybe again, this is just to kind of flush out a little bit of news on the Sheikh Jazim side and the 992 Foundation. We'll see, but it's looking like things are moving. You know, the wheels are turning behind the scenes. if you want my opinion on the situation, I would be amazed if the Glazers let go before the advent of the new Champions League, before the new Champions League format with an extra 100 games, the amount of revenue that can be increased and brought in there. And then you look at the potential for the FIFA Club World Cup, the new FIFA Club World Cup, which comes in 2025. That's going to be staged in the United States. That's going to include 32 teams. I believe 8 teams from the Euro, 8 teams from UEFA. Now, if we're somehow part of that Club World Cup, that's going to be massive. You're going to be playing Boca Juniors. You're going to be playing River Plate. You're going to be playing Santos. You're going to be playing Orlando. You're going to be playing all teams from all around the world in basically a club mini World Cup. That is going to be huge. So the fact that the Glazers, haven't sold up yet may indicate that they are waiting. They are looking to see, in the next 12, 18 months, what kind of revenue streams are going to be brought in from the FIFA Club World Cup. Having said that, there's a lot of people now talking about the wheels are turning. Change is happening, and the deal is being put in place. We'll see over the next month or so. Apparently October, November is an important deadline. So we'll keep you up to date with all the news here at MUFC MPB. If not me, it'll be Anton or Anil. Make sure you like, you subscribe, and you keep up to date with the news. Also on Twitter or X. I can't get used to saying Twitter and X. But X, Twitter, whatever at MUFC MPB. Make sure you follow him for all the latest Manchester United news. So good evening, Big Ron. How's it going? Mash says it was a different era of football, though arguably the greatest football mind as a manager. Who were we talking about there? Oh, you're talking about earlier about Sir Alex Ferguson and bringing in players like Antonio Valencia. And yeah, I mean, it was a scouting system. Sir Alex Ferguson relied heavily on his scouting system. And, when I think was it Louis van Gaal or Mourinho came in and got rid of the scouting system? I can't remember. But yeah. Ronnie Dodge says, the question is for you, Ash. If Qatar take over, keep Old Trafford or upgrade it or build a new stadium? Well, this is what I was just about to talk about. The new owners of Manchester United are expected to decide on whether to rebuild Old Trafford for $2 billion or upgrade the current ground for $1 billion. Again, let us know your opinions in the chat, but I'll let you know mine. I would be devastated to see Old Trafford knocked down. It's the hallowed turf that's seen Duncan Edwards, George Best, Dennis Law, Sir Bobby Charlton, going back to Sandy, Billy Meredith, some of the old players, the classics. To see it knocked down, to see it torn down, to see us potentially moved, which could be an option. Like, okay, I was thinking about this today, and I was thinking, because it's a different question, really. If the pitch was to remain in the exact same spot, would you be okay with it with a rebuild of the stands? I think I'd be okay with that. Because that's happened at Old Trafford. That's happened, from the 50s, from the 40s, 50s, all the way through to now. We've had different stands. We saw the stadium get bombed in World War II, where we had to go and use Main Road for a few years until it got rebuilt. So as long as the pitch itself remains in the same spot, then I'd be okay with that. I don't want to see what Spurs have done with theirs, where they've got the centre circle in like the outside of the pitch or whatever. I don't want to see that. I'd rather see the pitch being exactly the same spot. Now, if they were to knock it down, you know why they wouldn't keep the pitch in the same spot? Because I'm not sure if you can see it on the left-hand side, the bottom left-hand side of the picture, there's a railway there. There's a railroad. Now, having to build in and around that has been the reason why we've not built on the south stand, which is the smaller stand there, if you're looking at the picture to the left-hand side. So, I would like to see a rebuild. Not a rebuild, sorry. I would like to see a refurbish. I would like to see us kind of update the stadium, update the stands. And when you consider that if we were to do a rebuild, we'd probably do a rebuild and the stadium would only be about 70,000 seater. You look at all the rebuilds recently. You look at Spurs Stadium. You look at Arsenal Stadium. You look at a lot of these stadiums that have been built around Europe recently. They've only really hit the 60, 70,000 capacity mark. So I'd worry that if we were to rebuild, we'd only rebuild to about 60, 70,000. Whereas, if you consider right now, our stadium holds around 73,000 people. The North Stand in of itself holds 25,000, and that's not including the North the quadrants. So if you were to add that number onto the south stand and build up the quadrants on each stand there, we're talking about Old Trafford. If it was to be refurbished, not rebuilt, I'm talking about a refurbishment, then we're looking at Old Trafford potentially hosting around 105,000 people. It would be the biggest stadium in Europe. That's what a refurbishment does to Old Trafford. That's why I call for a refurbishment and an upgrade to the current stadium. I don't call for a new stadium. I don't call for a new rebuild, because a rebuild potentially causes problems with the size of the stadium. We have issues of sticking around the 70,000 mark. If we were to upgrade and renovate and rebuild, we'd have a 105,000 seater stadium at Old Trafford. Imagine the events that they could be hosted for. We'd be the biggest stadium in England and potentially the biggest stadium in Europe. Just the kind of the gravitas that brings. For me, how's that sound to you boys? Having said that, now what are your thoughts about a rebuild of a stadium around about 60 to 70,000, or a refurbishment at Old Trafford of around about 105,000 seater stadium? Sounds delightful. I love it. Mash says upgrade, too much history in there and just not football. I agree. Scotty says even if the numbers were the other way around, still upgrade, rebuild. 100% upgrade, rebuild. I'm glad you boys are saying the same. Halftime says I don't want Old Trafford to be replaced by one of these giant ashtrays, but the train line is going to be a huge issue. If you got money, you can do it. You look at what the Qataris have been able to build over in Qatar, for the World Cup and the general infrastructure over there in Qatar with the Grand Prix track, the F1 or all that kind of stuff. Those boys know what they're doing. They'll find a way. I don't believe that'll be any kind of difficulty there with the train track. Okay, for our builders and potentially for the amount of money that the Glazers would want to spend, they wouldn't want to spend. But I believe the Qataris would be able to do that. They've got incredible expertise when it comes to building. So yeah, I trust and I believe that they can do it. John Marlowe says total makeover like the Bernabeu, the Bernabeu, Santiago Bernabeu. Now the Bernabeu is an 80,000 seater after the refurbishment. Prior to the refurbishment, I believe there was mid-70s. So you look, even you see the size of the Bernabeu, that's 80,000. We would go on to have a 100,000 seater stadium. It'd be massive. I'd love it. Please, I'm desperate. I'm desperate for us. The one reason why you could argue against it being a 100,000 seater stadium is the potential for security issues and the amount of money it would cost just to keep the place on. Now, if you look at the Old Trafford, the season ticket waiting lists, I'd imagine we'd be able to fill that. But filling 105 every single week, that'd be interesting. That would be interesting. But there'd always be tickets available for League Cup games. I'm saying that. They might not be. We still might be able to fill it out. So, but 105,000 seater, that to me is mega impressive. I like that. Good evening, Diggy Dot. How are you doing? What else are we saying, boys? Rajat says, well, whatever happens, I wouldn't mind them working on developing a new stadium. I don't want to see a new stadium. Please, anything but a new stadium. If Old Trafford gets the TLC, but the railway could be an issue with the upgrades, where is the team going to play? Well, you can close stands. You could still play at Manchester United. Potentially we could play at Manchester City. I don't believe they still own their stadium. I believe that still is Manchester City Council, so we could play there. I doubt we'd play at Wembley, but that would be an offer. We've been offered to play at Wembley before. Which I'd hate. That would be just all sorts of wrong. It'd be difficult. It would be a difficult situation, but I think we'd have to end up closing stands. But you've seen it in the past with the Chelsea's renovation of the stadium, and even when Manchester United were building the north quadrants and the north stand, rebuilding it, the parts of the stadium were closed down, and we can continue to play on the pitch. So yeah, I don't believe there's any issue there in regard to continuing to play if we're doing a refurbishment. Now, if we're doing a rebuild, then yeah, and we're knocking Old Trafford down, then yeah, no, we'd have definitely 100% have to move. So again, that is another positive and a plus point for keeping Old Trafford, our glorious Old Trafford. But also, boys, in regards to stadium names, if Old Trafford was to be rebuilt, we'd probably end up being called the Qatar Arena, whereas Old Trafford's always going to be Old Trafford. Okay, if they made a new stadium and we called it New Trafford, maybe, but yeah, it's silly. Qatar just moved the train lines, pennies for them boys. I think it would be safer if it got 205. No, need to modernise it. Need to modernise the stadium. I mean, you say you need to modernise it, but how much experience have you got going to other football stadiums? Old Trafford is fairly modern still. The only issue is the press boxes, and generally the facilities when it comes to the media. They're the boys who complain. I've been to the Allianz Arena. I've been to the Stadio Olimpico. I've been to a few stadiums in and around Europe. Old Trafford, when in regards to the concourses and the fan areas, it's not as old as you're told and you're led to believe. Okay, it needs a lick of paint and it needs improving. Yeah, it does. But don't be fooled into believing it's some kind of dilapidated, old stadium that's kind of it's not repairable. So, yeah, no, there's definitely more that can be done. Too iconic to knock it down, I agree why. And the actual rats are legging it around the concessions. Not too much space in the Old Trafford to develop. Like City have academy games, training facilities, women games, etc. We have loads of space when you actually look at it. You look at all the industrial area around Old Trafford and you look at the Salford Quays and stuff. There's plenty of area in and around Old Trafford. You wouldn't knock it down. No, I definitely wouldn't want to see it knocked down. Not at all. I would not want to see Old Trafford knocked down. And hopefully we won't knock it down, but we'll see about it. Jadon Sancho this week. Jadon Sancho is not ready to give up his Manchester United career yet, especially under a different manager should Erik ten Hag depart amid the club's struggles. That's according to independent paper Sport. That makes me just feel sick. I've got to be honest, boys. I do not want to be hearing that. He's holding out hopes that Ten Hag's going to get sacked. We're going to be without a manager soon. So essentially, what potentially is happening here? And I love Jadon Sancho. I want him to succeed in his career. I wanted him to succeed at Manchester United. And I'm just reacting based off this news. But realistically, I'd love to see him do well for us. And I'd love to see him go on and do well in his own career. But if this is to be true, and he hopes us to be performing poorly so that Ten Hag is sacked and then he can get another chance with a new manager, I mean, we've got to get him out of the club. I mean, if there's any kind of truth to these rumours, if there's any inkling that these rumours are true, Ten Hag's got to get rid in January. He's got to get rid quick. And I'm not talking about on a loan either. I'm talking about completely just rid him from the club. Because what happens is if he were to go out on loan in January, then John Murtough, and Richard Arnold, they look at him and think, we've always got, if we sack Erik ten Hag, then instead of signing another player, we've always got Jadon Sancho to bring back in. I don't want to be seeing that. I really don't. Ksenia says, as long as it's state of the art after it's been refurbished, I'm good. I agree with you, Ksenia. As long as it's state of the art Old Trafford, I'm down. I'm there for it. Jadon Sancho is willing to consider a move in January, but he would prefer a loan deal so he can reevaluate his position in the summer. Again, all that talk and all that kind of murmuring of the idea that he's waiting for Ten Hag to get sacked, I don't want to see it. Disgusting. I think it's vile, the fact that he believes he could outlast Ten Hag, and I just don't want to see it. Get rid of him. Get rid of him. If that's true, we got to wipe the slate clean and go. That's it. Done. Finished. According to Ben Jacobs, who was on our channel yesterday with Vanilla Candola, make sure you check that out, boys. It's highly likely that Jadon Sancho will leave Manchester United in January, and he's had more to say about that. So go and check it out on our YouTube if you've not already. Again, some great information there from the Glazer, potential selling of the club and a few other things as well. Some great questions and some fantastic insight there from Ben Jacobs. So make sure you go and watch that one. Erik ten Hag is ready to wash his hands of Jadon Sancho and wants him to leave in January to remove a disruptive influence from a squad already in crisis. I mean, less so in crisis, having now won that game against Crystal Palace. It looked like we had the fight, the desire. You know what? Sitting in the stands watching that game, under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, under Mourinho, under Louis van Gaal, and even under Moyes, there was things you could see. You could see where the players, they didn't have much care and much kind of emotion toward each other. I'm not seeing that from this Manchester United group. When I go to Old Trafford and I watch them, away from the cameras. So I watch the warm-ups, and then I watch the warm-downs, and then I watch the post-match reaction of the players and how they interact with each other and what the relationships are like. I've got a keen eye, and I watch these things to kind of discern and try and understand what's happening within our club and what the relationship. If I see players like not talking to each other, not shaking hands, not patting each other on the back, not hugging, it's clear to see. I can understand that. Okay, there's something going on in the dressing room there. I'm not seeing that with our squad right now. Every single loss I've seen our players come together, have that little bit of harmony where you can see they feel it. Right now, you could point to maybe a talent issue. Maybe we've not got the talent and we've just not got the quality to be able to go do what Ten Hag wants him to do. Maybe it's the conditioning. You see with the amount of injuries that we've had recently with all the muscle injuries and the strains, with the extra demands that Ten Hag's placed on the squad. He probably expected coming into the second season and pre-season to put a much heavier load on the players, and he would have done that, and he has done that, and then he's seen a lot of the players kind of collapse and fall down and break apart. So, the conditioning coaches, we've said many times on this channel, they're old conditioning coaches that have been there at Carrington since 2012. But again, I go back to the harmony in the squad, and I believe it's there. I don't believe there's a squad that's kind of divided and frustrated with each other. I've not seen that. There's no indications to see it. You saw that with the celebrations against Brentford. I mean, look at the celebrations. All the players joining in. All the players, kind of really, really loving and appreciating the victory. There's no players just walking off. There's no players just kind of, okay, well, we won, so what? Every single one of them was involved, even off the bench, because I see it in front of me. If you've not seen, you can go watch my match vlog at Ash Meppers on my YouTube channel. I was there. I've got footage. I've got footage of the goal. I've got footage of the reaction. I've got footage of all of it. Go check my channel out, Ash Meppers. Now, as that's happening, I'm looking over to the dugout, and I'm seeing who's celebrating and who's not celebrating. And the majority of that bench is celebrating. They're up and down, and they're cheering, and they're ecstatic, and they're excited. Those are the things that I want to see, and you got to look for. And these are the things that the journalists should be talking about and should be telling us, but they don't tell us because they like to sow the discontent within Old Trafford, because it brings in a lot more views, it brings in a lot more attention, because you get Manchester United fans looking, and you get opposition fans looking, almost like if you've ever been on the motorway with your family, or you've been driving yourself, and you see a car crash or a car pulled over. You see a car pulled over, regularly pulled over, you give it a quick glance, you carry on. You see a wreckage on the side of the road, car smashed up, turned upside down, you can't stop looking. You want to see what's happened. You even slow down a little bit. You shouldn't do it. It's against highway, the highway laws and all that. But you slow down, you stop. It even causes the traffic to come to a standstill at points, because people are looking and want to see what's going on. That is no different from at Old Trafford and seeing us collapse and fall apart and seeing all the disharmony, see all the arguments. So the journalists, they'll sow that discontent. They'll talk about it in the media. They'll get fans, and they'll get the players, and they'll get people in and around the club all questioning what's going on and if everything's right within the club. So I wouldn't pay too much attention to too much media reports in regards to the relationships in the dressing room. Today we've heard Alan Brazil come out on Talk Sport and say that the players don't like Ten Hag. Madness, absolute nonsense. Unless he's naming names, I don't want to hear it. Absolute madness. I don't want to hear it. Even if you apologise now, there's no way you're back, I don't think. I think if you apologise now, what does Jadon Sancho want from his career? What does he want? Breaking. Someone close to Jadon Sancho. There is no relationship between Jadon Sancho and Ten Hag. They have barely spoken since the incident, and Jadon is still training with the academy players. He has no involvement with the first team. What does Jadon Sancho want in his career? What does he want? Does he want to come back as a Manchester United player? Does he want to go on loan? What does he want? Those are the questions that he needs to be asking himself right now. Because, honestly, it's not good enough. And if he wants to be a top professional, toe the line, get back into the squad, get your head, your head down, get stuck into your training, and prove Ten Hag wrong. It's not difficult. Jadon seems to be a lazy sod. That can be the case. And unfortunately, Ten Hag's not one of them managers that allow you to be lazy. So Alex Ferguson was great. With that. He allowed players to be lazy. Great examples is Carlos Tevez. Carlos Tevez, it's well known that during the week of training, he wouldn't train. Even Mancini at Roberto Mancini at Manchester City had issues with him in training, and had lots of problems. So Alex Ferguson dealt with him perfectly and dealt with plenty of his trainers or his footballers during training week. As long as you performed on match day, it didn't matter what you did in training. And what he would do with Carlos Tevez is he'd keep him away from the main training core group that were kind of putting in all the effort, putting all the work. Rio Ferdinand has spoken about it. Wayne Rooney's spoken about it. They said that Carlos Tevez would almost be a disrupted influence, so Sir Alex would have to leave Tevez to do his own kind of training regime. Didn't have to do the same regime that the main players were doing. But when it came to match day, he'd switch on and he'd perform admirably, he'd perform incredible, as we'd seen, during that 2008 campaign. Incredible football, the tenacity, the energy. If you looked at anybody on that football field at the time with Rooney, Tevez, Ronaldo and the rest, you would never have thought that Tevez was a poor trainer. You would never have assumed that he was, he didn't turn up in training because he turned up on the football field. Maybe Jadon Sancho is that character. Maybe Jadon Sancho was the one that turns up on match day. But we've seen him on match day. We've seen him not turn up on match day. So therein lies the issue. If he's not doing it in training and he's not doing it on the match day, when is he going to do it? So Ten Hag's trying to drive him into doing it in training so that he can replicate that then in match day, in a match day scenario, a match day situation. Unfortunately, he's not been able to do either. We've got to look to move on. Juventus and Borussia Dortmund will both make loan offers for Jadon Sancho in January with an eye to potentially buy him. Now, I don't think we should be doing loan deals. We should be looking to sell him. Dimitri Mitchell, if you remember him, an old fullback at Manchester United, one of our academy lads, he says, I don't think Sancho was coming for the manager in his post. I think he was talking about all the media attention because the media was saying he's been turning up late, he's been disrespectful, is he big time? I think he was talking about how the media were portraying him, scapegoating him, rather than the manager. Well, that could have been solved easily, Dimitri. All he had to do was go to the manager and say, listen, boss, I wasn't talking about you, I was talking about the media. Bam, done. I don't think that was the case. I think he was talking about the manager. Otherwise, those issues would have been rectified already. Unfortunately, we've not seen those issues be rectified, and that's where we are right now, where we are in the situation that we are in. So, now let's bring you all the latest and the newest, brightest, freshest Manchester United news. Manchester United don't see the January transfer window as a proper January transfer window. Well, that's according to Rob Dawson. Any Manchester United fan could have told you that. We've known that for the past couple of years. Who did we get? Weghorst and Sabitzer in the last window. On loan. Please. We know the Glazers don't take January transfer window serious, so we're prepared for it. I was hoping that maybe at this point we'd have had new owners. So that's not been the case. Now Manchester United have registered their interest in signing Benfica midfielder João Neves. This boy, top talent. This kid, we're going to be talking about him for years. Whoever signs him will go on to sign a superstar, absolute baller of a CDM, incredible on the ball, got that tenacity, incredibly difficult to dispossess. His long balls are incredible. I love him. I'm desperate for us to sign him. The only problem I have with this is we've got Kobe Minu, we've got Amrabat. I don't think he gets game time right away. Whereas at Benfica, we've seen that he's playing the majority of the games at the moment for Benfica. So that is something where I would throw him straight in. I'd throw exceptional footballer. I'd be super excited to bring him into Manchester United. I'm not sure what you've thought and you've seen of the lad, but this kid, keep an eye on him. Remember the name, João Neves. He is going to be a superstar. Jaden clearly is beefing Anthony because he can't take some threat to his right wing position, potentially running dodge. Scotty says Sancho peaked when he met Ash in a traffic jam. True story. Me and Sancho, we spoke one time. I asked him how he was going. How's football and all that, and he was like, yeah, it's going good. I'm excited. I'm hopeful for the future. And having seen him, met him in a traffic jam, we were stuck in the traffic on the way home from Old Trafford. I can't remember what the game was. I think it was a Europa League game at night. I got out of the car and said, Jaden, can I have a picture? Mate? He's like, no worries, mate. And then other kids and other people start, jumping out of their cars and running toward him because he was right next to me to the left-hand side of me. and he was fantastic. I forgot. I asked him the question. I said, Jaden, does it not bother you signing all these kids? And does it ever bother you? He goes, nah, I was a kid like them too, innit? I loved that. It's broken my heart to see him not succeed at Manchester United, because it was a wonderful thing, man. It was a wonderful thing to hear. You know, that the reason why he signs, you know, all people's autographs, and you see him on the match days as well, often signing kids and everybody's autographs, is because he appreciates that he was a kid once, you know, wanting autographs from footballers. Is that true, Ash? You can go check on my Twitter account. You go check on my Twitter; it's there somewhere. Scatty, you can go and have a look. Post a link here, and we'll show the lads if you've got that. Scatty's a great investigative tweeter, so I'm sure you can find that somehow. We all hope for Suarez type in January. You mean Luis Suarez, Liverpool, when they signed him in January? Yeah, Manchester United are desperate for a striker. We're in desperate need for a striker. Manchester United could only start speaking to Fiorentina and Tottenham about Sufyan Amrabat and Sergio Reguilon once Dean Henderson had left the club, which indicates that the money was an issue. You know, money was the big problem. But talking about a striker and a Suarez impact. A Luis Suarez impact, you know, that great impact that he had from Liverpool way back in 2016? Why are we extending Martial Lindelof's deal? We'll talk about that in a moment. Manchester United could enter the race to sign Ivan Toney in January. Brentford want £60 million. Would you do this deal? Would you do this deal, and would you do it right now? The one reason that says no, and I know I'm being like top red and all that, but because he's desperate for a move to Arsenal. He's been twerking for Arsenal, he's been twerking for Liverpool. I'm not too sure what I see a player who's desperate to move to Arsenal and Liverpool come to us. Okay, if he picks us first, probably because of a monetary issue, but if Arsenal are in the chase and in the hunt, I believe Arsenal will get him, and it'll be a fantastic signing for Arsenal. I don't think we stand the chance to try and buy him unless we offer bigger money. And we've seen many times. How many times have we seen us offer bigger money for a player that wants to go to somewhere else? Be it Di Maria. I can just think of Di Maria at the top of my head, but we've seen it when we've offered big money, and the players come to us instead of going somewhere else. You know, it not turn out well. So I do worry about that. I do worry about it. He's no Ollie Watkins, but I'd take him. But he'd want to start over Højlund. There is that too. Manchester United have accelerated talks with Aaron Wan-Bissaka over a new contract. I'd be happy for Aaron Wan-Bissaka to sign a new contract. You know, he's not one of our big earners at the club. I believe he's on around about 135,000 a week. I would say not a big earner. 135,000 a week. I mean, we'd all like 10% of that a week, wouldn't we? So yeah, I'd like to see Aaron Wan-Bissaka signed to a new deal. Dalot's done fantastically well since Aaron Wan-Bissaka's been out. But the options are there. You know, we could also move Dalot over to the left-hand side. You know, at left-back, playing against Saka, one of the best right wingers in world football. You saw him nullify him, close him out. You know, so moving Dalot over to that left-hand side, I'd be happy with that, especially now that we've got those issues and struggles with that left-back side. Hopefully Wan-Bissaka will be back after the international break. There's talk that he'll be back almost a week after the international break, so there's new and exciting news there. I'm excited. I would take him, but we need to sell Martial. We can't really rely on Højlund all the time, especially being so young. I know he's the highest Champions League goal scorer. I agree, we need options. I mean, you look at the time when we had Rooney, Tevez, Ronaldo, Berbatov. I mean, all four of them would go straight into our first team right now. You look at the time when we had Luis Saha, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Ruud van Nistelrooy and Rooney. All four would go in. You look at the time when we had Andy Cole, Dwight York, Teddy Sheringham, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, all would go in. I mean, many times we've had multiple strikers, multiple options, and right now we're bare bones. We're desperate for forward players. You could argue the game's changed a little bit because two players don't play up top. You know, not many teams have 2-3 strikers. You look at Man City, they've got two main strikers, and that's it, Alvarez and Højlund. You look at Liverpool, you've potentially only got one striker. So, you know, these teams, you look at Real Madrid, they've not even got a striker. Real Madrid haven't even got one right now. Barcelona have only got one in Robert Lewandowski. So you could argue that potentially you only need 1, 2, 3 at most in those forward positions. Players are a lot more kind of malleable in the forward line these days. They move all across the forward line. So I believe we can look at other players like Orban or Boniface at Leverkusen. Boniface, to me, is... I've watched him a lot. He misses too many chances. He stinks of Lukaku. He's very reminiscent. Reminds me very much of Lukaku in the amount of chances and his control that he needs. So, who was I thinking of? Who was I looking at lately? I don't know, but I'll try and remember for the next stream. But there was other strikers out there. I can't think off the top of my head. Who would I take right now? Ollie Watkins? I don't think I'd go for Ollie Watkins. But yeah, you know, the strikers in world football right now. Victor Osimhen. I mean, how could you not want Victor Osimhen? Victor Osimhen would be the answer. He's the man that we'd want. You know, go spend big money on him. He's a beast. He would dominate the Premier League. The only issue I have with Victor Osimhen is his injury record. Not the greatest. Anthony Martial is not keen to continue in a backup role at Manchester United as his contract runs down. He wants to become the main man again at this stage of his career. Well, we saw him leave for a few months over at Sevilla, and I watched him under Lopetegui. Poor, very, very poor. You know, had a terrible spell, disastrous spell over at Sevilla, and he played a few games as well. So at this point, Martial, you know, he's had all the talent, he's had all the ability. He's had 7 years now to try and prove it at Manchester United. He's not done. We've got to move on. We've got to look to move forward. It would be sad. I know. You know, he's wore a shirt, and you know, any Manchester United player wearing the shirt, you know, I'm always hopeful that they do well and they succeed. But at some point, you just got to look to other options and other answers. And unfortunately, Anthony's not been that for us. Where he goes, who knows? I imagine some mid-table team in Italy or Europe somewhere. Maybe even a top team in a small league like the Dutch league or the Portuguese league. It'll be interesting to see how he gets on his career. We'll always follow his career and we hope he does well. But yeah, I don't think any of us would sign him to a new contract. I don't think so. David De Gea was at the Leeds Sports Village last night to watch Manchester United women's take on PSG in our first ever Women's Champions League game. That game ended 1-1. It was a decent game. We had a lot of chances. We got our first ever goal. Mallard scored our first ever goal, and David De Gea was there to witness and watch. It's nice to see David back in Manchester. He's sorting out his home and working out his housing situation in Manchester. Whether he comes back to the club, I don't know. Would you want to see him back at United? I think we move on, don't we? David De Gea is relaxed over his futures. He enjoys some well-earned family time, and he's not rushing to find a new club. He returned to Manchester today as he's spending a few days sorting out his house. On international duty, you've seen Johnny Evans there, looking fresh and fit as ever. I'd go and suggest you watch the Who's Who on the Manchester United channel on YouTube. Fantastic watch between Johnny Evans and Tom Heaton. Fantastic. Go watch it. Make sure you go and pick that one up. There's our boy, our superstar striker, Danish young kid, Rasmus Winter Højlund, doing his shopping, getting down to Tesco or wherever he goes. We have no affiliates with any companies here, so whatever your choice is whatever your choice. Rasmus there smiling with Christian Eriksen, all looking happy on international duty again on the bike rides. I'd love to see the boys do it through Old Trafford and through Manchester. It'd be amazing. There's plenty of bike and cycle routes around Manchester. Why not? Diogo Dalot on international duty, fantastic. He has gone way up in my estimations lately. He's a hype man for us. You see him at Old Trafford, you see him on the football field. He lives it, he breathes it. He's one of the players at the very opening of Old Trafford. He's there doing signings. He's signing all the kids' stuff, all the adult stuff. He's taking pictures. He's there. He's a hype man with the lads. Oh, I love his attitude. I'm a big fan of Diogo Dalot, and I really want him to succeed at Manchester United. I want to see him continue to play, if not in the right back spot, at left back. Fantastic footballer. Big fan. Let's see what you boys have had to say. Johnny Marlowe says, when was the last time a player left us and have a great career? I mean, it depends what you class as a great career. You can go and say Ashley Young went and won the Serie A, Darmian went and won the Serie A, Lukaku went and won the Serie A, all with Inter. You could say that Chris Smalling went to Roma and won the Europa Conference League. Who else have we got? I feel like we've got some more. Depay went to Lyon and did very well, and then moved to Barcelona and won a league title. So there's players there. There's players there. Don't get me wrong. A lot of them have gone on to fail and gone on to play very, very poorly. But there's some success stories as well. Sanchez is another one. Yeah, Alexis Sanchez at Inter as well. Is this the best duo in football history? I replied to this. I've got to be careful because you never know with Twitter replies. But I replied to this and I put with the best defensive duo. Ronaldo, Tevez, Rooney, best front three in the history of the Premier League. I don't think there's a better front three. That front three was enormous, incredible, a bunch of monsters. Bex and CR7 has decent careers after United. Yeah, Bex and Cristiano Ronaldo and Ruud van Nistelrooy as well had a decent career. Gabriel Heinz, not so. But yeah. That isn't Demba Ba and Papi Cisse. Are you a Newcastle fan? What is going on? No, not at all. So yeah, I mean, you look at them. I mean, what would we do now to have them in the forward line? Incredible footballers. Hopefully one day we'll see that talent be brought through, and you can see that with Shea Lacey. He scored today in the European Championship qualifiers, the under-17s. Shea Lacey, one to keep an eye on, and very exciting prospect for the future at Manchester United. Speaking of Rooney, Wayne Rooney has been announced as the new manager of Birmingham City, along with John O'Shea as his coach. I wish him well over there in Small Leaf. I hope he does well, and I'd like to see him back in the Premier League with Wayne Rooney. Imagine Wayne Rooney back in the Premier League with Birmingham. That'd be interesting. They didn't need to sack the coach. They were doing well. The odds went from 14-1 to get promoted to 16-1 when Rooney took the job. So they actually, the bookies and the backers, they actually think they've got less of a chance now. Switching the manager. I don't understand what they were doing, to be honest. They were on a good run of form, and they were 8th in the league. You know, Birmingham looking well, and then bringing in the big name in Wayne Rooney. We'll see how he gets on, but we all wish him the best here from MUFC MPB. And at Manchester United, we hope Rooney does well and continues to succeed as a coach. And maybe, who knows, maybe one day back at Old Trafford in the dugout. We'll see. Manchester United beat Burnley 3-0 in a behind closed doors friendly at Carrington yesterday. Donny van de Beek started and scored. Anthony also started. Kobe Mainoo was supposed to play, but it was deemed to be too early by the coaches. Now, Kobe Mainoo has not had a setback with his injury, which was feared to be the case once he was withdrawn from the team today that was played team yesterday that played at Carrington. So yeah, hopeful and excited to see Kobe back at Manchester United, and hopefully that day will be soon. Is Anthony in the new Manchester United range? I'm not sure if you've seen it, but looking fresh. I want to get this jacket. What are you saying, boys? I like this. I'm having it. Think I can wear that under a big jacket for the winter at old games at Old Trafford. I want a pocket here. All I want in life is a pocket so I can grab my phone. That's all I want. I don't want to do all this. I don't want to mess around all down here. I just want to grab my phone. Do you know what I mean? Just give me a zip here, please. Somebody, Adidas, are you listening? That's all I want in life. Just a zip there. That's nice. Medium, please. Get the hair to match. You'd pull it off, mate. My hair's sus, man. Do you know what I mean? I got like some kind of granddad looking like I don't even know what to say. What's the word? I look like a Peaky Blinder or something. Shocking. Some Victorian age old like bankers do. Look at the boys looking fresh, gorgeous. Boys, we want to see that freshness, that hotness on the football field. Breaking: Manchester United staff actively seek new employment after growing disillusioned at the club over handling of Mason Greenwood and Anthony domestic abuse cases. It wasn't handled great, and we could have done better. We could have been swifter in interaction. Unfortunately, it wasn't. You know, I believe we dealt with the Anthony case fairly well, But just more discontent at Old Trafford that we don't really want to be hearing. Whether this is true or not, we don't know. There's no sources, so we'll see. We'll see how this one goes, and we'll see how it plays out. Make sure, if you've not already, to hit that like button and subscribe. I appreciate you boys all dropping in today. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you liked. Hopefully, I'll be back Saturday, and I'll see you boys throughout the week. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at AshMeppers. Also, the MUFC MPB account at MUFC MPB. My Brentford match vlog is up at YouTube. You know, Ash Meppers, you can go and check that one out as well. It's on my Twitter or whatever. Anil will be back next Tuesday. Anton will be with you tomorrow, looking fresh, hopefully. We'll see how it goes. Thank you very much for your input today, boys. Come on, United. Come on. Thank you very much, John Marlowe. Thank you very much for everyone for your input today, and we'll see you boys again next time. The hour goes too quick, doesn't it? You know what? So quick, unbelievably quick. But it's been a pleasure, boys. I'll see you boys next time. Take care. Have a good evening, have a good night, have a good morning, wherever you are. Make sure you're looking after yourself. Take care. I love you. Bye. United. Let's go. Come on.